and glutathione peroxidase. The selenium, glutathione peroxidase, and vitamin E. All these three together form the triad of antioxidant management in the body. Antioxidant management in the body. You can please remember selenium, vitamin E, and glutathione peroxidase. These three are very, very important for the management of the free radical stress in body. In fact, if you see the apoptotic pathway, charts of apoptotic pathway, there also you will find that this is very important. Vitamin E is very important there. The first disease that is we study is encephalomalacia. Encephalomalacia, or in technically encephalomalacia is degeneration of brain or softening of brain. Hmm? Encephalomalacia. This encephalomalacia is also called as crazy chick disease. Crazy chick disease. Crazy chick disease. Encephalomalacia or crazy chick disease. There is progressive muscular weakness. There is progressive muscular weakness, frequent falling down, and it is found that on histopathology that there is edema and hemorrhages in cerebellum. Edema and hemorrhages in cerebellum. Cerebellum. So the behavior of chick, that is frequent falling down or unusual behavior. So it was reported as the chicks have gone mad, that they have gone crazy. Therefore, it was named as crazy chick disease, encephalomalacia. Once again, I repeat, progressive muscular weakness, frequent falling down are clinical signs, and on histopathology, it is revealed that the cerebellum is having edema and hemorrhages. Another manifestation of vitamin E deficiency is exudative diathesis. Exudative diathesis, Diathesis. Diathesis is a tendency towards a pathological change. Diathesis indicates a tendency towards a pathological change. Exudative diathesis. Exudative, that means the tendency towards forming a pathological condition characterized by exudation. Characterized by exudation. Okay, exudative diathesis. Now, this is edema of subcutaneous tissue. There is edema of subcutaneous tissue. The capillary walls undergo pathological change and they become leaky. They start leaking out the plasma. The pathology is the capillary walls degenerate and start releasing out the plasma. This plasma accumulates and is having a little bit of RBC here and there. Therefore, it becomes greenish blue and viscous in color. This plasma accumulates subcutaneously in the musculature, in the subcutaneous tissue, and here and there some RBCs also escape in that, they hemolyze. So this will have greenish blue color and the consistency is viscous. Most affected part are pectoral muscles under the wings and even hydropericardium is seen. Most affected parts are the pectoral muscles, the under the wings, parts under the wings, and even the hydropericardium is observed in this exudative diathesis. Then next disease manifestation is nutritional muscular dystrophy or nutritional myopathy. Nutritional muscular dystrophy or nutritional myopathy. Now, what this is deficiency of vitamin E and sulfur-containing amino acids like methionine and cysteine. Vitamin E and sulfur-containing amino acids like methionine and cysteine. It is characterized by thrombosis and infarction, which leads to necrosis of muscles. Thrombosis and infarction, which induces necrosis of muscles. So, the muscles of the pectoral region, thigh region will show white streaks. White streaks. The muscles of pectoral region, thigh region will show white streaks. The chronic deficiency in in birds lead to drop in production parameters. Leads to drop in production parameters. Egg production comes down, the growth comes down, the FCR is poor, and there are numerous secondary diseases. Even immunosuppression occurs because of antioxidant stress. Immunosuppression occurs because of, not sorry, antioxidant, free radical stress. Very sorry, free radical stress, because of free radicals. In breeder flock, the sterility in the cockerels has been, or roosters has been, reported very frequently because of vitamin E deficiency. In breeder flock, the males show sterility. The roosters show sterility. The females show the drop in egg production. Egg production means the hatchable eggs, not the this commercial eggs. Hatchable eggs, fertile eggs. Drop in egg production and drop in fertility of eggs. Drop in fertility of eggs. Deficiency of vitamin E can occur directly because it is missing in the feed. The commercial ration, what we feed them, it is missing in that, or indirectly because of presence of, say, parasites in the body, or any other disease, or even toxins, presence of low grade toxins. That's how the deficiency occurs. Next vitamin, so vitamin E is fat soluble vitamin. If you remember, A, D, E, K are fat soluble vitamins, and therefore they are very very essential. They cannot be, uh, I should say, not. They are very essential, as well as these vitamins also lead to toxicity. These vitamins also lead to toxicity. For example, vitamin D toxicity. Vitamin D toxicity leads to gout, excessive calcium retention in the body, and gout. Hmm? Like same way, vitamin E toxicity, excess vitamin E in the body itself is a reason for sterility. It's a reason for sterility in the birds. They become infertile. Production drops down. Then we come to vitamin K. Vitamin K. So, uh, vitamin K has also been called as anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. Anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. It is required for blood coagulation. There are numerous functions. Numerous functions. The most important function, what we see, what we observe immediately on deficiency, the uh, is the clinical signs associated with blood coagulation. This vitamin is required for synthesis of prothrombin, factor 7, 9, and 10. Prothrombin synthesis, factor 7, 9, and 10 synthesis, as well as vitamin K is actually vitamin K dependent, gamma carboxylation of some glutamic acid residues is very important. Otherwise, they do not bind to uh, the proteins, which are the proteins which are supposed to bind with calcium ion do not function. That is another issue with that. So, anyways, the mechanism everybody may not ask, but you should remember that it is very important for the blood coagulation pathway. So, this bacteria is synthesized by intestinal bacteria, and it is acquired by coprophagy. It is acquired by coprophagy, or this coprophagy in case of birds is very specific. They specifically consume their cecal feces. They specifically consume their cecal feces. The ceca is the main site of fermentation, and cecal feces are voided separately. They have a very different consistency, uh, a long, hard consistency, and birds feel that this is a worm, or maybe they have a tendency to consume it, but they definitely consume their cecal feces. Normal feces they will discard, but cecal feces they will definitely consume. So one of the important benefit of having deep litter system is that coprophagy occurs there and lot of vitamins are acquired by the birds through this. Moreover, in the deep litter system, there is always fecal contamination of feed and water. Although it transmits numerous diseases, but it also becomes source of vitamins for the birds. Okay, becomes source of vitamin for the bird. But the coprophagy performed by birds is called as cecotrophy. 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 Cecal feces consumption. Cecotrophy. Trophy. Trophy means to eat. Hmm? Coprophagy in birds is called as cecotrophy. Now, prolonged use of antibiotics in the feed causes this deficiency because bacteria die out, which produce the vitamin K. Hmm? Prolonged use of antibiotic causes the deficiency of this disease, deficiency of this vitamin because the bacteria die out. Or there may be in feed, especially in case of the birds reared in cages reared in cages, feed should contain vitamin K because caged birds cannot perform cecotrophy. Caged birds cannot perform cecotrophy. Therefore, uh, they should acquire vitamin from the feed. So, if the feed is deficient or cecotrophy is not performed, or the prolonged use of antibiotic, these are the three major reasons for vitamin K deficiency. Clinical signs include increased bruises. Increased bruises start forming. Then bird may even have anemia. Bird may have anemia. Excessive bleeding in the pectoral region, legs, and wings. Pectoral region, legs, and wings, and also sometimes inside the abdominal cavity. Inside the abdominal cavity, because clotting mechanism is weak. Because clotting mechanism is weak. So excessive bleeding in the pectoral region, legs, wings, and inside the abdominal cavity. So the embryos of the eggs start showing late stage mortality, late incubation stage mortality due to excessive bleeding. Even the embryos, whatever the embryos have inside them, the egg is having inside them, will come from the hen. If hen is deficient in vitamin K, hen is deficient in vitamin E, vitamin D, the egg will also be deficient in all those vitamins. So in case of vitamin K deficiency, embryos start showing late stage hemorrhagic death. Late stage hemorrhagic death. All right. So this is vitamin K. Any doubt till now?
Sir, in case of N, if it is deficient in vitamin K, then what happens, sir?
Late stage hemorrhagic death of embryo. Embryo is about to form, about to hatch in few days. But at that time, suddenly the capillaries start becoming weak, or I should say, clotting mechanisms start becoming weak. So hemorrhages happen, and that hemorrhage is not controlled, and they start happening so much that embryo dies. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
this one is only in birds or it's in all animals?
Vitamin K deficiency is responsible for hemorrhagic diathesis in all animals. In all animals, human beings, everywhere, vitamin K is important for the clotting mechanism.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hmm. Yes. Anything else? Shall we go ahead? Okay. Then we start with water soluble vitamins. The B series is there. Okay. Although many vitamins will not be expressed as essential for essential for chicken, but use of multivitamins like Vimerol is there, or these things are there in chicken also, in other pet birds also. Use of multivitamins is highly recommended. I encounter very frequently. I encounter pet bird cases. No, I sometimes consult on phone with my relatives and friends. So I very frequently encounter deficiencies, syndromes in pet birds, even in the in the uh, this chicken and other domestic birds also. So when you are practicing, please make sure, always make sure that the what condition you see in the pet bird or domestic bird should not be because of deficiency of vitamin. That has to be always ruled out. So irrespective of anything, you always give them vitamins. And if they are, because recently I have found that in some farms, even after use of multivitamin, even after use of multivitamins, still birds were showing deficiency. So recommending to add little bit of vitamin E, D, and C. C is not recommended. C is not recommended to birds. Birds synthesize their own vitamin C, but indirect deficiency of vitamin C occurs under the condition of stress. So providing these vitamins to them at say you that is a dose rate is a complicated matter which we can some other time discuss that, but to in an appropriate dose or even little bit higher dose will not be harmful. The birds recover very well with that. Hmm? Although this is a less explored point, because everybody believes that feed is containing all the vitamins. It is not so. We have to provide them. Even those vitamins which are not considered essential for birds, those vitamins are also to be given from outside under condition of disease. All right. So we start with vitamin B1, also called as thiamine. Thiamine. B1 thiamine. This is having very important role in carbohydrate metabolism. This vitamin has very important role in carbohydrate metabolism. The low B1 in diet or high carbohydrate diet can cause this direct and indirect deficiency. You understand this point? If B1 is low, direct deficiency. If carbohydrate is high as compared to B1, then B1 deficiency takes place. Indirect deficiency, because B1 is required for carbohydrate metabolism in the body. Then the clinical signs include poor growth, poor production, weight loss, and emaciation. Poor growth, poor production, weight loss, and emaciation are direct effects what we see. The disease is called as polyneuritis. Polyneuritis. If you remember, Marek's disease was also called as polyneuritis initially. The clinical signs of the leg weakness and paralysis is very common in Marek's and polyneuritis and the NVND, neurotrophic velocinic Newcastle disease. NVND. These three diseases have very common overlapping clinical signs. So polyneuritis is actually inflammation of many nerves. Inflammation of many nerves. There is leg weakness. This leg weakness, unsteady gait, unsteady gait, tremors, tremors, convulsions, and paralysis. Tremors, convulsions, and paralysis. The birds toes, the toes of the birds, or the digits appear to be closed inside, and birds show stargazing or opisthotonus. Stargazing condition means opisthotonus. Opisthotonus means there is stiff paralysis. There is spastic paralysis. And spastic paralysis, what is happening? There is stiffening of back and neck muscles. Stiffening of back and neck muscles. Consequently, the head is extended backwards. Head is extended backward, and it seems bird is looking up. Bird is looking up. So it was named as Stargazing. Stargazing means birds are gazing or continuously looking. Gazing, gazing means looking continuously. Stargazing means birds are looking towards the stars or looking towards up continuously. But it is actually not stargazing, it is opisthotonus. Opisthotonus means spastic paralysis of back muscles. Okay. And the toes will be curled inside. Toes will be curled inside. And such conditions of birds are observed also in Marek's disease, paralyzed birds showing tremors, convulsions, and even these stages of spasm in Marek's disease also, as well as in the NVND also. However, NVND will be accompanied by a lot of mortality, okay, and a faster spread of disease. It will not cure by introduction of vitamins. Marek's disease condition, they will also find high mortality as well as high acute mortality as well as presence of some lymphomas in the birds. So we cannot easily miss out. But yes, if B1 deficient, in any case, some addition of vitamin should be there. Okay, then we come to B2. B2, again, B2 is acquired. Almost all B complex vitamins are acquired by cecotrophy. Are acquired by cecotrophy. That is preferential eating of cecal feces. So the cecal bacteria provides not only B1, also B2. B2, and the uh, the major clinical signs include curled toe paralysis. Curled toe paralysis. So in this curled toe paralysis, birds appear to be alert, normal, due to brachial and sciatic nerve paralysis. Brachial and sciatic nerve paralysis. They are sitting on their hock joint. They are sitting on their hock joint, and their digits are completely closed. Digits are completely, and even on attempt of opening, it will not open. Digits are completely closed, cannot extend. Even on trying, we cannot open them. Of course, stargazing is not there. So curled toe paralysis is the major clinical sign of B2 deficiency, and curled toe paralysis is because of brachial and sciatic nerve damage or neuritis of brachial and sciatic nerves. Then the another manifestation is clubbed down feathers. CLUBBED, clubbed down feathers. Down feathers are actually soft feathers. Some feathers are very small, fluff. One is fluff. Another one is little bit larger than the fluff. Down feathers. Right? It will appear like fluff. Okay. And these fluffs, these down feathers do not appear extended long foliage like appearance, or grass like appearance will not be there. They will have a club like appearance. Club like appearance means they will have the edge of these feathers will be round and enlarged. The end of these feathers will be round and enlarged. So that is what it is called as clubbed down feathers. Down feathers are small feathers. So down feathers appear club shaped. Understand this point? Any doubt till now? Anything you want to ask? Okay. Can you hear me? Voice is clear? Somebody please respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then next is vitamin B6. Vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 is the deficiency leads to anemia. Very important. B6 deficiency leads to anemia, poor feathering, and sometimes chondrodystrophy and nervous signs. Anemia, poor feathering, poor growth, poor production. Sometimes chondrodystrophy, Chondrodystrophy means wrong formation of the cartilage. So the pectoral muscles, the sternum, the hock joint, they all start showing malformation. Chondrodystrophy and nervous symptoms of convulsions, nervous signs of convulsions. Then niacin. Birds can synthesize niacin from tryptophan amino acid. Birds can synthesize niacin from tryptophan amino acid, and they also acquire all water soluble vitamins from cecotrophy. So there should be lack of niacin, there should be lack of cecotrophy, and there should be lack of tryptophan amino acid in the diet, and that's how niacin deficiency takes place. Even in case of emaciation, etc., where birds are losing condition, direct indirect deficiency of vitamin occurs. I should not say direct, indirect deficiency of vitamins occurs. So that is why it is always beneficial to add some vitamins from outside in the diet of birds or in the feed or water. So niacin deficiency leads to poor growth, poor feathering, poor feathering, and also chondrodystrophy. Then comes pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid, or it is also called as pantothenic acid, is also called as the Chick antidermatitis factor. Chick antidermatitis factor. Pantothenic acid, also called as Chick antidermatitis factor, or vitamin B5. Vitamin B5. There are cracks with hemorrhages observed in skin of feet and toe. There are cracks with hemorrhages observed in skin of feet and toes. The lesions are observed on corners of mouth. Lesions are observed on corners of mouth. Mouth means beak, corners of beak. There is poor growth, poor feathering, atrophy of thymus and bursa, fatty liver, and in embryo and in eggs there is embryo mortality, increased embryo mortality. Then next comes the biotin. Biotin is present once again in the feces and in the feed, etc. It is present there. Deficiency occurs because some natural biotin binders are present. Some natural biotin binders are there, like the mycotoxin, especially aflatoxin. Aflatoxin is a biotin binder, and it leads to deficiency of biotin, in the indirect deficiency of biotin in the body. It's a biotin binder. It will not allow biotin to get absorbed. Then once again, cecotrophy. Cecotrophy is discouraged, or antibiotics is used. Cecotrophy means antibiotic is present, then cecum will not contain the bacteria producing antibiotics, those bacteria producing the vitamins. So discouragement of cecotrophy, the presence of mycotoxins, and lack of biotin in feed, all these together lead to deficiency. The major manifestation is chondrodystrophy, characterized by parrot beak condition. Chondrodystrophy characterized by parrot beak condition. We know that there is a striking difference between the beak of a parrot and beak of a chicken. They are distinctly different. But understand this, that there is chondrodystrophy, there is malformation of the beak cartilage, and beak becomes curved down. Beak becomes elongated and curved, like the beak of a parrot. It is called as parrot beak condition, and it is an indicator of chondrodystrophy. Especially seen in biotin deficiency. Then there is defective feathering, periocular dermatitis, and with presence of exudate, which dries and forms the crust around the eyes. Hmm? The exudate, periocular dermatitis with presence of exudate, which dries and forms the crust around the eyes. Hmm? Then there are fissures on the angles of beak. On the angles of beak, means the sides of the beaks, there will be cracks and fissures. Hmm? Similar fissures are also observed. Similar fissures or cracks in the, see, understand this. Fissure is a crack in the skin, or superficial layer. On a superficial layer, if we see a crack, it is technically called as a fissure. Even in the muscular sphincters or oral mucosa, or in the anal mucosa, or in anal sphincter, if there is a crack, it is called a fissure. Okay, so the fissures are observed on the angles of beak, even eyelids, foot pad, and toes. Eyelid, foot pad, and toes. The biotin is one of the reason for a disease called as fatty liver and kidney syndrome. Biotin is an etiology for one disease called as fatty liver and kidney syndrome. Fatty liver and kidney syndrome. In this case, the fat management is impaired, and there is so much of fat available with unmetabolized fat, that liver gets fatty, and some of it also flowing through the blood reaches the kidney tubules, and the kidney tubules also start showing fatty change. Which is not a frequently affected organ. Kidney tubules also start showing fatty change. Fatty liver and kidney syndrome. Okay, biotin deficiency. Any doubt till now? Anything you want to ask? Okay. Then we come to folic acid. Folic acid. Folic acid is very important for synthesis of DNA and RNA. It is very, very important for the synthesis of DNA and RNA. And folic acid is present in, folic means present in the foliage or greens. So use of the vegetable products, easy, say some greens, etc., in the diet of animals and birds can prevent this. But however, the chicken mash contains very little greens. So it has to be added from outside, or even from the cecotrophy it can be acquired. However, the direct indirect deficiency occurs. It is very important for synthesis of DNA and RNA, and also for hemopoiesis. Hemopoiesis and lymphopoiesis. I should say not lymphopoiesis, means leukopoiesis. Hemopoiesis and synthesis of WBC. Deficiency of folic acid immediately leads to poor growth, anemia, leukopenia, and immunosuppression. Poor growth, anemia, leukopenia, and immunosuppression, and also chondrodystrophy in the long run. When you see birds showing chondrodystrophy, you should not only suspect the deficiency of calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D, but also suspect vitamin B complex deficiency, direct also, indirect also, both ways. Direct also, indirect also. Then there is B12 deficiency. B12. B12 is very, very important for the hemopoiesis. Deficiency leads to anemia. Then there is chondrodystrophy. Characterized by, called as perosis. Perosis. Chondrodystrophy called as perosis. Perosis means one side of there is partial paralysis because of excessive pain. Partial paralysis because of excessive pain. There is embryo mortality on 7th day of incubation. There is embryo mortality on 7th day of incubation with small leg muscles and fatty liver. In B12 deficiency. B12 deficiency anemia is because the RBCs fail to mature. RBCs fail to mature. Okay, only the RBCs are not maturing to their full full size, or I should say the the that the megaloblast stage is not crossed by them. Then choline deficiency. Choline is also called as lipotropic factor. Choline is also called as lipotropic factor. It is important for fat metabolism, typically transportation of fat. Hmm? Deficiency causes fatty liver. Deficiency causes fatty liver, chondrodystrophy, and poor growth. Deficiency causes fatty liver, chondrodystrophy, and of course poor growth in the birds. Then we come to vitamin C. Vitamin C. Now, chicken synthesize vitamin C in their kidneys from glucose. You understand this point? Chicken can synthesize the vitamin C in some parts of their kidney from glucose. So, presence of glucose in the diet or starch in the diet will indirectly also compensate for the vitamin C. However, deficiency occurs in case of stress like infection, trauma, or or faulty diet, putrefied diet containing aflatoxin or other poisons. Hmm? And under condition of stress like trauma, infection, and putrefied diet. Now, this vitamin C is not transported to egg. Vitamin C is not transported to egg. Embryo synthesizes it inside the egg. Embryo can synthesize it. Okay. So this is although this is not a part of pathology, but you can remember this. Now deficiency is always temporary. Addition of the vitamin from outside will help, or or the this removal of the cause will also compensate for the deficiency. Deficiency leads to severe immunosuppression. Deficiency leads to severe immunosuppression. Since the deficiency is not seen for long time, other effects like other animals show chondrodystrophy and scurvy-like conditions. These are not observed in the birds. Okay. However, for management of the disease conditions, stress, it is always preferable to add some vitamin C in their diet. Hmm? Okay. Any doubt till now? Any doubt till now? Okay, we go ahead. Then we come to minerals. Minerals. Minerals include the first most important mineral that should always be present in the chicken diet are the calcium and phosphorus. We do not study them separately. They have common effect. They have interrelated effect. Hmm? The deficiency of calcium and phosphorus directly leads to rickets and osteoporosis. Rickets and osteoporosis. There is a condition, osteoporosis, in adult birds. We see them as cage layer fatigue. Cage layer fatigue, FATIGU, fatigue. Fatigue means unable to exercise or unable to work physically. Cage layer fatigue, the layer birds kept in cages, they start showing fatigue, or they are unable to stand. They will be seen continuously sitting down, and they sit for so long time that they actually develop the breast blisters. The injuries develop on their pectoral and the breast region. Okay, because of the pressure from the wire of the cage. So that is called as cage layer fatigue. The chicken have two types of bones. One is structural bone called as cancellous or compact bone. Structural bones called as cancellous or compact bone. These are bone skeletal bones which give the skeletal strength. Then there are medullary bones. Medullary bones, these are dynamic bones. They act as the store for calcium for the shell formation. So if there is deficiency of calcium, the medullary bone gets exhausted. Medullary bones get exhausted from the calcium. Now the hormones or body system starts taking the calcium from cancellous bones or structural bones like leg bones, the the bones which are supporting the weight of the body. Now these bones become deficient in calcium, osteoporotic. They become osteoporotic and they become painful. They become painful. So birds are unable to stand. The birds with good body condition, good musculature and good fat, but lack of calcium, they are unable to stand. And they keep sitting down for so long that they start developing the breast blisters. In the long run, if this continues, there are numerous fractures because of brittle bones, numerous fractures, deformed ribs and sternum, and also they, of course, as I told, breast blisters, poor growth, and the poor production because of this deficiency, poor growth, poor production, and secondary infections from the injuries. Secondary infections from the injuries. All right. Then Excess calcium. Excess calcium leads to low phosphorus in the diet. Low phosphorus in the diet and consequently associated symptoms of pica, and also bone damage. Also bone malformations. Then the excess calcium also gets deposited in the kidney tubules. Excess calcium gets deposited in the kidney tubules, which leads to formation of cast, uroliths, and gout. Formation of cast, uroliths, and gout in the bird. Excess calcium. All right. Any doubt till now?
Sir,
Yes.
that chicken bones you said na that there are two kinds of bone. Can you please explain this again?
There are cancellous, cancellous. The thick part of bone, this thick bony part is called as cancellous part, compact part. Okay, these are structural bones like leg bone, tibia, fibula is there, and fibula is non-functional. Sorry, tibia is there. The leg bones are there, isn't it? The carpals are there. They are the cancellous bones, है ना? And there are some inside the body. There are some medullary bones, or there are some parts which are medullary parts. Medullary parts are dynamic. They have very strong osteoclastic and blastic activity. Under normal condition, they will acquire the calcium, keep it stored. But when the birds goes for lay, they are starting to lay the eggs. They require calcium. So that calcium is acquired not only from diet but also from these bones, the cancellous the medullary bones. So feed will give the calcium. Some calcium is deposited on the eggshell. Some calcium goes to these medullary bones for storage. When there is lack, medullary bone will give the calcium. So likewise, the egg formation takes place, and it is all guided by the hormones like parathormone is there, है ना? The vitamin D is there. Okay, there are numerous estrogen is also there, progesterone. All those hormones together work for this. Okay, and once the system is set in, the bird keeps on laying egg. But suppose when the system is in full flow, the egg laying is going on very fast. Every 25th hour, bird gives one egg. Suddenly, calcium deficiency occurs. Now, what will happen? Hormones are forcing egg laying, but body is unable to provide calcium. So egg size, egg production comes down. But meanwhile, the medullary bones get exhausted. The all calcium is lost from medullary bones because osteoclastic activity is still going on. Now that calcium is extracted from the cancellous bones or compact bones. These bones become osteoporotic. painful, and the bird is unable to stand for long time. And that is why this we say it is under fatigue. It is unable to stand. It is not fatigue actually. It is the painful body bones. That is why it keeps on sitting down for long time. Okay, so it appears as if it is fatigued. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Anybody? All right. We go to next mineral, sodium and chloride together. Sodium and chloride. Sodium, basically it is the sodium, but also chloride is associated. So that is also uh, studied together with it. Apart from sodium chloride, sodium is also extracted by the birds or acquired by the birds from sodium bicarbonate. The deficiency it leads to poor growth. Deficiency leads to poor growth. Soft bones. It actually interferes with the calcium metabolism, bone metabolism. The poor cardiac output. Nerve and muscle functions become weak, and even the cardiac muscle function becomes weak. So poor poor cardiac output which may lead to acute condition like shock and death, Overall, there is poor egg production and smaller egg size. Poor egg production and smaller egg size. In fact, when we want our flock to stop laying eggs and induce molting, suddenly we drop down the sodium in the diet of birds. Then bird immediately within few days will stop laying eggs and molting will occur. Okay. Then mild deficiency leads to increase in vent pecking and cannibalism. Mild deficiency of salt or intermittent salt deficiency leads to increase in cannibalism and vent pecking, as I discussed earlier. Excess salt leads to excess drinking of water, and which leads to formation of wet droppings, and also breast blisters in broilers. Broiler birds start showing breast blisters. Breast blister means the injuries in the pectoral region. Okay, because of the wet litter. Wet litter is there. Wet litter will always keep the area wet. Infections develop and injuries and ulcers form. Long run, excess salt leads to kidney failure and visceral gout. And ascites. Kidney failure, visceral gout, and ascites. In some cases there is eosinophilic encephalitis. In some cases, birds and pigs in salt toxicity show eosinophilic encephalitis. Birds and chicken show eosinophilic encephalitis. Not birds and chicken, sorry, pigs and chicken show eosinophilic encephalitis. Then potassium. Potassium is required for muscle, nerve, and heart function. So mild deficiency leads to malfunctioning of these parts, muscle, nerve, and heart disturbances. So mild deficiency leads to the muscular nerve function disturbance and also cardiac disturbances. In severe potassium deficiency leads to convulsions and death. Potassium excess. One more point is the deficiency also leads to poor egg production and thinning of eggshell. Poor egg production and thinning of eggshell. One more point is there that sodium and potassium are inversely proportional. Sodium causes tachycardia, increase in heart rate, and potassium causes bradycardia, reduction in heart rate. Excess potassium occurs when there is low sodium. And consequently, Consequently, what happens is that the high potassium immediately leads to cardiac failure. High potassium leads to cardiac failure. High sodium can be tolerated for a long time. Birds will not immediately die, but high potassium will immediately lead to cardiac failure. Will immediately lead to cardiac failure. Then we come to manganese. Manganese. Manganese, in case of excess calcium, phosphorus, and phytic acid, or fibrous diet. Fibrous diet contains excess phytic acid. PHYTIC phytic acid. Phytic acid is a compound found in the foliage, in the roughages, and it is a phosphorus compound, phosphorus containing compound. Now this phytic acid reduces the absorption of manganese, reduces the absorption of manganese. So excess calcium, excess phosphorus, or excessive phytic acid from the roughages can reduce the manganese absorption. Manganese is required for bone formation, and cartilage formation. So deficiency leads to perosis. Perosis is a type of chondrodystrophy. Perosis is a type of chondrodystrophy. We get short, thick, and deformed long bones. We get short, thick, and deformed long bones, often associated with enlargement of Hock joint. Often associated with enlargement of Hock joint leading to lameness. Often associated with enlargement of Hock joint leading to lameness. Layer birds show eggshell thinning. Layer birds show eggshell thinning, reduced hatchability, and embryos dying in the last part of the incubation, last third part of incubation. And these embryos show skeletal defects. These embryos show skeletal defect. Layer birds show eggshell thinning, reduced hatchability, and embryos dying in the last third part of incubation, which show skeletal defects. Then we come to iodine. Iodine leads to deficiency of iodine, leads to goiter. Goiter. There is chick mortality, delayed hatching, and retarded absorption of yolk sac. There is chick mortality, delayed hatching, and retarded absorption of yolk sac, which predisposes the birds to yolk sac disease or omphalitis, which predisposes the birds to or chicks to yolk sac disease or omphalitis. Then we come to copper. Copper. Copper is necessary for formation of hemoglobin. Copper is very necessary for formation of hemoglobin, and copper is associated with presence of a protein called as ceruloplasmin. Ceruloplasmin, a copper binding protein in blood. CERULOPLASMIN. Ceruloplasmin, a copper binding protein in blood. Deficiency of copper leads to anemia, poor pigmentation, lameness, poor egg production, abnormal calcification of eggshell, So we start getting shellless or wrinkled shell or misshapen eggs. Shellless, wrinkled shell or misshapen eggs, or thin-shelled eggs. Very similar to what we have seen in adenovirus and infectious bronchitis. Very common to what we see in adenovirus and the infectious bronchitis. Excess of copper leads to abnormality of gizzard. Abnormality of gizzard muscles. Gizzard musculature becomes abnormal. Zinc. Once again, zinc is again chelated out by the phytic acid. Zinc is chelated out by the phytic acid and which interfere with its absorption, Deficiency of zinc leads to chondrodystrophy, chondrodystrophy, poor feathering, poor feathering, scaly skin of legs. The skin of legs becomes scaly. That means it starts exfoliating as scales. And also immunosuppression. If you see these days, zinc vitamin C tablets are coming. Zincovit. It is associated with immunity. Excess zinc induces molting and stoppage of egg laying. Excess zinc leads to molting and stoppage of egg laying. Then we come to selenium. Selenium is very similar to deficiency of selenium is very similar to deficiency of vitamin E. Deficiency of vitamin E. So deficiency leads to exudative diathesis in combination of vitamin E and glutathione peroxidase, and it leads to high free radical stress. Okay, and then also muscular necrosis, that Zenker's degeneration of muscles. Zenker's degeneration of muscles is seen in selenium deficiency. Selenium also causes toxicity. It is a very toxic element actually. The selenium, toxic levels of selenium can be present in plants. Now, sulfur, this selenium actually replaces out the sulfur from amino acids. The selenium replaces out the sulfur from amino acids like methionine. So what happens is the protein that is formed from such abnormal amino acid is also abnormal dysfunctional protein. The protein that is formed from these amino acids is abnormal protein. There is effect on developing embryo. There is effect on the malformations and death of developing embryo are seen, and the bird shows poor production, poor feathering, poor musculature, immunosuppression, and also death. Poor musculature, immunosuppression, and also death in the birds. So likewise, we cover the minerals also. Have I discussed gout and ascites till now or not? Anybody remember? No. Okay. So first we start with gout. Gout are of two types. Gout are the diseases associated with uric acid. Uric acid metabolism. The deposition of uric acid leads to severe inflammatory change. Deposition of uric acid in the tissues leads to severe inflammatory change, and these crystals are formed. Uric acid crystals are formed. These are needle-shaped crystals. Uric acid crystals are formed. These are needle-shaped crystals which cause traumatic injury to surrounding tissue. Giving rise to severe inflammatory reaction. In some cases, or I should not say some cases, in fact almost always, sometimes some parts, the crystallization of these needle shaped crystals is in the form of the star shaped structures, stellate, STELLATE, stellate structures, star shaped structures. The star shaped deposit of uric acid is called as tophi, TOPHI. The star shaped deposit of uric acid is called as tophi, tophi. And this tophi is highly traumatic to the surrounding tissue, and the surrounding tissue dies wherever this crystallization forms. So there are two types of gout according to deposition of uric acid. One is visceral gout, another is articular gout. In articular gout, the deposition of uric acid is only in the joints, while in the visceral gout, the deposition takes place all over the body, including the joints, It occurs in the joint also and other parts also. That is called as visceral gout. So how this gout occurs? The point is the birds and reptiles are uricotelic. Birds and reptiles are uricotelic. They excrete uric acid. Any disturbance in the metabolism of uric acid can lead to its deposition. Why? Uric acid is having very little solubility in water. Water solubility of uric acid is minimum. So it very easily precipitates out. The transportation, of course, is through blood. Uric acid is formed in the liver, and from liver through blood it is transported to kidneys. From kidneys, it is excreted by reptilian nephron. The birds and reptiles have two types of nephron. One is mammalian nephron with loop of Henle, and one is reptilian nephron with no loop of Henle. And reptilian nephron is associated with secretion. I'm not saying excretion, I'm saying secretion, because uric acid is excreted by tubular secretion. So it is secreted by the reptilian nephron, PCT, and slowly it is excreted down. That white part of feces of birds and even lizard, etc., what you will see, that white cap is actually urates. Okay. So predisposing factors for gout include kidney failure because of the infection or toxicity to kidney. Then urolithiasis, which blocks the kidney. Dehydration, which again blocks the kidneys. Excess calcium or phosphorus diet, or imbalance of calcium phosphorus in diet. Then vitamin A deficiency, where the epithelia is continuously exfoliated. Vitamin A deficiency. Then high protein diet. High protein diet actually induces the excess formation of uric acid, which cannot be managed. High protein diet. Then high salt diet, which leads to failure of kidneys. There are two types of gout, visceral gout. We see they are either they are called as obstructive visceral gout, where there is obstruction to flow of urates, or there is toxic visceral gout, where the kidney tubules are dying either because of toxicity or any reason, but kidney tubules die out. So there are two types of visceral gout, pathological classification: obstructive visceral gout, where there is obstruction to flow of urate, and toxic visceral gout, where there is death of kidney tubules because of some toxicity or even infection. But pathogenesis overall of visceral gout is same. The first point is kidney failure. Kidney failure should be there, and the removal of urates from blood is stopped. Removal of uric acid from blood is stopped. So the consequent hyperuricemia occurs. Hyperuricemia means high levels of uric acid in blood. Because of hyperuricemia and the low solubility of uric acid in blood, uric acid starts precipitating out. Especially on the serosal surfaces of the visceral organs. Consequently, what happens? There is formation of numerous needle-like crystals and tophi formation. There is formation of numerous needle-like crystals and tophi formation. This leads to severe inflammation of the serosal surfaces. Severe inflammation of serosal surfaces. Also, there is formation of crystals in the parenchyma of organs. Inside the organ also crystals formed. Inside the organs also crystals form. There also the inflammatory changes occur. There also the inflammatory changes occur. The tophi gives rise to foreign body granuloma reaction. Foreign body granuloma reaction. Around this tophi, the heterophils, macrophages infiltrate, and if bird survives, giant cell also forms. Around this tophi, heterophil and macrophages infiltrate, and if bird survives, giant cell also forms there. We say that foreign body granuloma reaction is formed. The sudden precipitation of uric acid engages out the sodium. Uric acid precipitates out as the sodium urate, and therefore it leads to hyperkalemia and death of the birds. Now, grossly, what we see is chalky white deposits all over the serosal surfaces. Chalky white deposits all over the serosal surfaces. The kidneys will be enlarged, swollen, and ureters may be containing excess urates. Kidneys are enlarged, swollen, pale, enlarged, swollen, and the ureters may contain excess urates. Histopathologically, there is presence of star-shaped urate crystals. The demonstration of urates is done by D-galantha staining. Also called as it's a type of silver staining. It's a type of silver staining, D-galantha staining. All right. This is the gout. Any doubt? Anybody? Any doubt? Any confusion? Yes?
Sir,
Yes?
that in gross pathology you said that the kidneys are pale, enlarged, swollen, and the ureters may contain. Sir, after that, what is it?
Excess urates. Ureters may contain excess urates. Ureters may contain excess urate. Okay. In case of articular gout, articular gout can appear with or without visceral gout. Okay. In case of articular gout, the joints are swollen, birds are unable to walk. Joints are swollen and birds are unable to walk. On sacrifice and opening the joint, opening of the joint, we see white deposits of uric acid in the joints. And histopathology of joint reveals presence of urate tophi and granulomatous reaction. All right. Then we come to ascites. Ascites is accumulation of fluid in the abdominal cavity. It is accumulation of fluid in the abdominal cavity, and this fluid is pale straw yellow colored, and which may or may not clot. Because if fibrin is present, then only it will clot. The ascites is etiology of ascites includes high salt diet. High salt diet. First point important. Adenovirus infections. Adenovirus infections. The high ammonia in the environment. High ammonia in the environment, which makes the lungs susceptible to blockage. These are the three common etiology of the ascites. Then hypoproteinemia, hypoproteinemia, which causes hypoproteinemia, which causes reduced colloidal osmotic pressure of the blood. Reduced colloidal osmotic pressure of the blood. Hypoproteinemia can occur because of parasitic infection, poor diet, or poor diet. In general, the ascites arises from the cardiorespiratory cardiorespiratory failure. Cardiorespiratory failure. Just a second. Ishida, you go out, close the door. Go out, close the door. Go out. Ascites arises from the cardiorespiratory blockage of blood flow. Cardiorespiratory blockage of blood flow. What happens is that when there is resistance to flow of blood through the lungs, because excess salt makes the RBC rigid, or in case of high ammonia or cold temperature, the lung capillaries become blocked. Or because of, say, excessive cardiac stress, the heart becomes weak, especially the right side of heart. The heart becomes weak. What we see is that the blood start accumulating in the visceral part. Especially in the liver. Now the pressure of blood inside the liver sinusoids become high. Pressure of blood inside the liver sinusoids become high. Why? Because heart is unable to receive the visceral blood. So therefore, what happens is the capillaries or the sinusoidal endothelium gives opening to the plasma, and liver starts releasing out the plasma into the abdominal cavity. And consequently the fluid accumulates in the abdomen. Abdomen appears distended. Okay. If the etiology is corrected, then the ascites can resolve by itself, or else it may lead to ultimate cardiac failure and death of the bird. Grossly, we find the birds a good body condition bird. With abdomen full of ascitic fluid, straw-colored ascitic fluid, which may or may not clot. Heart may show hydropericardium. Heart may be rounded and enlarged. Heart failure indicated by enlarged rounded heart, because it was full of blood. It was unable to push out blood to lungs. Lungs are extremely congested. The birds are found dead with enlarged abdomen, also called as pot-bellied condition. Pot belly means enlarged belly. Pot-bellied condition with presence of fluid, straw-colored fluid, which may or may not clot. It is very frequently seen. This ascites is very frequently seen in high altitudes. High altitudes where the oxygen is thin. Oxygen is thin, and this leads to excessive cardiac stress. Excessive cardiac stress. So, in say in northeastern region or in other hilly parts of India, this disease is very commonly seen in colder climate. All right. Anything else you want to ask in this? Any part you missed out? Yes, anything you want me to repeat? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any doubt? Anything in this class? Anything? No. Tell me if yes, other or else I conclude this class.